So I've been getting a lot of texts, emails, inboxes from people I never thought would reach out to me. And it has happened since I've started traveling. When I left my home state, Illinois, and started traveling across the United States and abroad. And what I'm noticing is a theme. Either, girl, I wish I could do that, or you are so brave, or I'm afraid to do it, or I wish I could do it, but my husband, he's just not up for it, or my wife, she's not gonna go for it. And what I'm hearing is that there is this desire to travel, to explore, to live your best life, doing something you've never thought you would do, but wanting to do it anyway. So if this is your first time here, my name is Regina Dillard. I'm a travel chef, a global house sitter, and digital nomad, and I teach people how to embrace life, how to bring joy and fulfillment into their lives through travel. Okay, so bear with me. I have tea. I have a little tickle in my throat. And so I'm just gonna sip on this yoni ginger tea while we're talking, if you don't mind. I want this to be just a casual conversation. I'm hoping this will be a one-shot deal, no fancy editing, but I really want to talk about my circle of family and friends and people who would love this life of adventure, but they don't think they can do it. So let's talk about where those desires come from. They come from within. Not everyone wants to travel, but those desires that you have, no matter what it is, if it's to travel or to start a new business, go to another state, pick up a hobby or date, marry, whatever the desire is, the desires came from somewhere. They were placed in you from somewhere deeper, something that's great. I believe that it was from something that's greater than ourselves, but it always starts from within, that desire to do something that you've envisioned. You see it in your mind, and then sometimes we just push it away. We're saying, oh, I don't want to do that. Kind of like the whole sour grapes thing, because, oh, I can never attain it anyway, so I may as well just put it on the shelf and just forget about it. Where do those voices come from that says you can't do it? Who told you you can't do it? Well, I will say that in my personal experience, I knew that a lot of the fears that I have about traveling, about doing anything of value, came from when I was a child. A lot of those things happen and they stem from any childhood trauma or negative experiences. It could be from your environment. People who have never done it may never do it, and they tell you the same. They plant those seeds in you at a very early age, and those seeds, they don't go anywhere. They're watered by the people we hang around, by our environment, by our social circles, people who feel like, yeah, you deserve it as long as it's not more than what I'm getting, and they'll try to hold you down. And I'm not saying everyone, because I've had some supportive friends in my life, and I still do. However, I know that when those seeds are planted, they're constantly watered over the course of our lifetime if we don't address it and root it up. And if we don't address it, they are like tentacles. They just grow deeper and deeper and deeper, like plants grow into soil. The roots just grow deeper, they get stronger, and they're harder to pull up. They're harder to root up. Same with human beings. If you think about it, what are some of the challenges that you've had, that you've been dealing with over and over and over and over again, and you just seem like you cannot get past it? Why? Because first of all, they have not been addressed. Yeah, we can always blame other people and say, well, this is the reason why, I can never get past this, or this is the reason, or that's the reason, or those are the people. And we are outsourcing the excuse or the reasons of why we can't move from one place to another place and actually take ground. And we never think about that it's an inside job. It starts from within. I know a lot of my fears happened when I was a child, and those fears were seeded through simple things. And I'm just going to put this in there because it's not far-fetched, but this is what I believe. Even the things that you're exposed to as a child. I used to like watching scary movies with my dad. We used to watch a show called Creature Features, a black and white movie, came on every Saturday night. He and I would watch it together. Now, I really didn't like scary movies because after I watched it and went to bed, I wanted the lights on, and I wanted to kind of get under the covers. It scared me so bad. So why do you think I would watch it every week? Because it was sort of a bonding instrument or a bonding tool with my dad. I can't say my dad and I had the closest relationship because he was one of those people that, he was more of service oriented. He's from the old school. He's gonna go to work every day. He's gonna take care of the kids, take care of the house, the wife, make sure all of our needs are met. But he wasn't this like lovey-dovey type guy. So whenever I had the opportunity to bond with him, Creature Feature was it. And some of the other things, maybe going fishing, but Creature Feature stands out in my head because that seeded more fear into my life. Now, some people don't think, scary movies or horror movies are a big deal or whatever. And okay, that's a personal opinion. But for me, it was little droppings of negative seeds of fears that were already in my life as a child. And so that's a constant watering. And then starting projects or, I remember in elementary school joining like softball team or a track team. And then midway into the season or even just with tryouts, I'd give up thinking, well, you know what? You really don't have a place here anyway. This is really not your thing. Why don't you just quit? And I'd quit. I'd quit without even trying, without even exploring the opportunity or even just giving myself the opportunity to see how far I could go. But that again was the seeding of doubt and fear of what I could do. And that only continued in my life. There are so many things I've wanted to do, so many things I've wanted to accomplish. And some things I never even made the attempt because I didn't think I could do it. Those negative voices were on play, rewind and repeat, play, rewind and repeat. And so I had to come to the realization that it wasn't anything on the outside of me. It was on the inside of me. So it wasn't about, any outside sources or, outside sources and forces, they do have an influence. But at some point I had to come to the realization that this is me. This is my life. This is what I want. Why would I allow these blockages to prevent me from living the life I've always wanted to live? So, with this travel life, it wasn't easy. It was one of those things where I knew I wanted to travel. I knew I wanted to live abroad. I didn't know how long, but I knew in my heart I wanted to travel and cook because of my background in culinary arts. And I love traveling. But I never thought I could do it. In my mind, I'm thinking like, well, how is this possible? First of all, you don't know where you want to go. You're going to a strange country. Why would you move with foreigners? Why would you leave the great United States to go live in these third world countries or abroad or in Europe or some of these other places that you're unfamiliar with them? No one's ever done that in your family. Your parents have never traveled abroad. Why would you think that you can do it? And so I put it on the shelf. But that desire, just because it was put on the shelf, doesn't mean it went away. Have you ever had those like a feeling or a thought or this deep desire to do something or a dream that you've had and it wouldn't leave you alone? It just kind of sat there in your brain. You push it to the background and you kind of deny that it was there. or made up your mind it was unattainable or unachievable, and then you left it alone, but it came right back. It could be the next month, a few years, a decade down the line. That desire is there for a reason. That desire sparks inspiration. It's really telling you that this isn't all there is to life. There's so much more, and life is requiring more of you. Now, it's not forcing you to do anything, but it's saying you can do more. You can actually have this. You can achieve and attain it. So when it came to travel, I decided to learn how to get past those fears. I had to hire a therapist and read some self-help books and just go to sources that I knew would help me. And because my background or my upbringing was in the Christian faith, there were certain key scriptures that would help me with my journey, that would help me kind of build this positive image of myself. So between my affirmations and my scriptures and self-help books and my therapist, now that started helping me uproot some of those lies that were seeded in my life. And I knew I could get past it if I was consistent and if I was constantly watered myself. You know, sometimes you have to detach from people, places, things, environments, even family members sometimes that, you know, they may not say directly, not to do it, but okay. You know, it's the body language or that unspoken word or, oh, okay. Well, go ahead, girl. All right. I see you. You know, it's not negative, but you get the sense that you aren't really supported. Let's put it like that. So regardless of that, sometimes you have to remove yourself from those circles, from those voices, because all that does is it starts reseeding those negative thoughts. And before you know it, you'll be back in a place where you once were. And all that work that you've done, you'll find yourself regressing. So environment has so much to do with how we progress. Your ears, what you allow in your ears, your ear gate. My mother used to always talk about what you talk about, what you hear, what you see, those gates into your soul, through your eyes, through your ears, through your mouth, what you talk about, your speech. It's so important. So this life of travel, it wasn't easy. It took a lot of work. Now, people on the outside may say, oh, she's so brave, or, you know, I'm envious of you. I heard one say, I'm so envious of you. You don't have to be. This was work. It was work, but I chose to put the work in, and the work started within. It wasn't just booking a flight or looking at where I should go in the world. It was really an inside job, right? An inside job. So I took 5 years. I should say I took 5 years. It took 5 years. First, I had to get through the whole pandemic, because that just set me back. What I felt to set me back, because it just really disrupted my life. But when I look back, it really didn't disrupt my life at all. It really was a blessing, because my business in the US was affected, because my business was, my food service business, that is, was dependent on interacting with people live time. I had dinner parties. I had classes I was teaching, and my classes, my children can tell you, because they were my helpers, I was booked every week. Every weekend, I should say, I was booked. Either I had a dinner party, a private event, or a cooking class. But the pandemic just disrupted all of that. And it was really hard for me to pivot into the virtual space. I wasn't sure how to do it, if it would work, if people would really be open to cooking virtually. It just was a hot mess. But what I realized is that kind of a blessing in disguise, because that kind of set the tone for doing something different, maybe doing the same thing, but in a different way, I should say, and maybe doing it somewhere else. Now, I had grown tired of being in Chicago. You probably heard this in my last video of why I moved to Mexico. But I just felt like everything that I wanted to do, someone else had either done it or it had been overdone. And I was just like, I just don't feel like this is it, that I can be my best self here. I don't know why. I had been feeling that way for years. As a matter of fact, my daughter is in her 30s now, and when she was about 4 years old, we drove to Atlanta for a job interview that I had because I thought I wanted to live in Atlanta at that time. But that wasn't meant to be. So I stayed in Chicago. So fast forward, years have gone by, but that desire to go somewhere, it never left. It was like, you need to go somewhere else. I just felt like I could really come into the fullness of who I am if I were somewhere else. Does that make sense? I know some people get it because some people have had to leave, to actually leave their home to go somewhere else. And so I just kind of grew tired. My YouTube channel was flat. It had gotten flat at about 200 subscribers for about 4 or 5 years. I started my YouTube channel, I think in 2017, and it really never took off and grew because I was discontented. I didn't put a lot of time in it. I got lazy. I wasn't inspired. I wasn't creative. I was just like, I don't feel like doing it. And I felt like I was doing a disservice to my subscribers. And there was a couple times I just wanted to shut the entire page down. I was like, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm just not feeling inspired. And so I didn't delete it. I was like, just hang on. Don't do that just yet. Something will come. And I thought something would inspire me still at home in Chicago. So for some reason, I decided to relaunch my business in a different way and started working with local retailers and grocery stores to sell my products. It was great. Customers love the food. I specialize, I have a niche for vegan food, that's my niche, making vegan food. I take pride in that. And I wanted to offer that to my customers or people who I thought would support me. And I was getting support. Still was feeling discontented, like, this ain't it. This isn't it. And that feeling of explore, adventure. Now, mind you, I've always been the type of person to try something new. Even with those fears that I had, I've always been that person that would just take risks. I've always been a risk taker. I will always try something at least once. And I felt that feeling again, that this is not it. So I made the decision consciously after sitting with it for a while and said, I'm closing my operations. I'm done with it. I'm done with it. Now, I wasn't sure if I was done with food service, because I enjoy watching people eat my food. I enjoy preparing food. I enjoy infusing my love and passion for food into the food and just enjoying people consume the food that's made with love because it comes from my heart. But was I done with it? Yeah. In the sense of actually being in the kitchen and preparing it with my hands and producing it, mass producing it, yes, I was over that. However, I knew that will always be a part of me, and perhaps I could do it somewhere else. So in 2019, as you heard in my previous my previous video, let's get it straight, I talked about how I started journaling. Now, that was therapy for me to journal. I've been journaling since my son was a baby, or before. I was 1999. So journaling has always been therapeutic for me. But what I love about it is I get a chance to go back and read other entries. I have a tickle in my throat, excuse me. Go back to my old journal entries to see what was my thought process like 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years ago. And I could see the progression. But also, My journal allowed me to write the things that I want, the things that I desire, deeply desired in my heart. And I said, you know what? Let's make a plan. So I started writing in present tense what I wanted my life to look like. And so I started listing 5 countries of where I wanted to go, the countries I wanted to explore, didn't know how I was going to do it. All I know is I wanted to do it. And then I just set the intention. I said it, I wrote it, I released it. I don't think I said it anymore as far as, oh God, I want, like as if to force it to manifest. I just said it, I believed it, I wrote it down, made it plain, and at that point, it's like the waiting game. And I just went on with my life, knowing in the back of my mind that it's gonna come to fruition. I just have to wait. So let me just tell you about the waiting process. That's the hardest part, because the waiting is like a test in a sense of, do you really want this? And are you willing to release it to the creator, universe, God, whatever you want to call it? Are you willing to release it and still believe that it's attainable? No matter if it's 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 5 years, 10 years, do you believe it's attainable? Because really, I'm gonna be honest with you, there is no formula. I don't care. Okay, I'm just gonna say it's my opinion, but I strongly believe there is no formula for when it will happen. Because there are so many things happening in the background. There's so many moving pieces. And you have to allow life to unfold. You have to trust the process. Because I remember when I got a job, and actually, with my last position, I was unemployed for quite a while. And I wanted this new position, a new position, I should say. But when I finally got it, I remember all the things that had to have taken place, because I knew I wanted a senior executive assistant position. I knew that I wanted to still work in corporate. I wanted to work downtown. I wanted to work within a 2-block walk of the train station. I knew that I wanted to work in an office with people that I like. I wanted to work in a small office. I wanted to be able to travel. And those were very specific requests that I put out into the universe and wrote in my journal. And I remember waiting, and I got frustrated. And I almost took another position, but I knew that wasn't the one that I had desired in my heart. So when I finally got a call from a recruiter that I'd been working with, she's like, there's this company that wants to hire you. I'm like, okay, because I had been on so many interviews by that time. So when I went to the interview felt really good. There was this positive vibration that I was feeling during that whole interview process. And it was a small office. And I knew that I liked the people right away, at least the ones I interviewed with. So when I went home, I started visualizing myself getting on the train, going to the office, going up the elevator, and sitting in that seat that's designated for the executive assistant office manager. And within 2 weeks, they made me an offer. So let me just tell you how that worked out. That was the senior executive office manager position that I wanted in an office of 3 people working in corporate, private equity to be more specific, downtown Chicago, 2-block walk to the train. It was the salary, exact dollar amount I had put in my journal, and I enjoyed, because I don't work there anymore, the people that worked in that office. Now, had I taken that other job, would I have been derailed from my dream? No, not really. I believe that there is a lesson for every decision that inside or behind every decision that we make. But this one, because I wanted to wait and chose to wait, the one that I wanted came to fruition. Now, what I didn't know later is that all the while I was waiting, that position hadn't even been created. The company, the company was headquartered in New York, but they decided, it was actually the year I lost my previous job, which was 2017, that they needed a Chicago office. They wanted to branch out into the Chicago market. So many things had to happen. In the same year, I lost my other job, and the 2 years I had to wait. In those 2 years, there was a company in New York who wanted to branch out to the Chicago market. They had to select the office building, build it out, hire the staff or the managing director and vice president who were there before me. They had to create this senior executive assistant, office manager position, and now they needed someone to fill it. So 2 years later, I get a call from a recruiter for this position, which I ultimately got. So my whole point was that process and that kind of waiting period, don't rush it. Don't rush it. Live your life and just go on with life as usual and enjoy your life, because you don't know all the moving pieces, everything that has to happen in order for that dream to come to fruition or that desire to manifest. So if your dream is to travel or with anything, you don't have to do it all at once. Just do it incrementally. Perhaps you want to take a long weekend or a drive up to Canada, or you want to go to Mexico, the neighboring countries. Maybe next you want to explore a country through a relocation tour or a tourist tour. Use your passport, go to some of these other countries and explore for a weekend or 5 or 7 or 10 days to see, hey, how do I feel about this country? Would I like to live here? Part-time, full-time? Do I want to just come here on my tourist visa, which you can stay up to 180 days, at least here in Mexico you can? Where in the world would I like to go? How do I travel based on my budget? Can I go through discount websites? Maybe house sit, where you can stay in someone's home and you have free accommodations anywhere in the world. There are so many ways you can do it, but with anything, you can do it incrementally, little bites. It's like, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And then you can always go to some of these travel groups on Facebook or online, go to some travel meetups, get to know different people, find out what their experiences have been. And then if you know someone who has done it, perhaps you can get some information from them. Maybe you can, get some advice from them, or book a coaching call, or just explore, do some research, read some books. You may want to subscribe to certain periodicals or magazines, or e-magazines that is, and just get all the information you can before making a decision. And that will give you more comfort. It will make you feel more at ease about your decisions to travel. So I just say, if you want to travel, just make up in your mind that this is something I want to do, because the desire has already been there. The desire was already planted within me, and it just won't go away. And again, you don't have to stay. You can go anywhere in the world. I'm here in San Miguel de Allende, but I may go to Guadalajara. I may go Querétaro. I may go to Playa del Carmen. I may leave Mexico and go somewhere entirely different just to explore, because I'm a wanderlust. But the point is, I no longer have that fear of travel and that fear of living my life to the fullest, because I took the first step. When you make the decision and when you are intentional about your desires, I guarantee the universe will open up and it will conspire to get you everything you need. Because once I got here, it just seemed like magical things started to happen. I started just meeting people that I needed to meet in order to reach my goals. They were willing to give me the information, the lay of the land. They didn't gatekeep. I just started seeing people, Black people on the street, different expats. I started just things I didn't even have to ask for, because I took the step to come here. It's just like people were waiting on me. Situations were waiting on me to get here. And it has just been a magical, magical, exploratory adventure. So I'm for you. I'm rooting for you. You can do it. Take that first step. And if you have a spouse, maybe a relocation tour or maybe one of these tours that they have in other countries is something that you can do together as a bonding experience. And maybe one spouse is a little hesitant, but when you go on the tour, maybe it's like, maybe we could do this. Maybe even part-time. And if you're single, you have no excuse. There's no better way to explore and travel and do this life than when you are single, because you just never know what's waiting for you on the other side, or maybe who's waiting for you on the other side. But the thing is, you are engaged in life. You are enjoying life, and you are just putting one foot in front of the other and say, I can do this. So there's lots of information out there. I can assist you as well. I'll drop my website down below. It has all my social sites. It has my YouTube channel. This is going to go on my YouTube channel. You can go back to it, bookmark it, watch it anytime you want. So I am one of many that's living this life, and you can too. So just do it. Move beyond the fear. And I hope to see you on the other side.